and your time starts now. What's going on, Ghost Squad? Welcome back to channel. Trey here with Ghost Tactical to start up a new series called the Survival Series. And what we're going to do with this series is we're coming up on the natural disaster. Now, we're not going to call it the Red Dawn. We're coming up on tornado, hurricane season, all of that might have something happen where you're stranded outside or you don't have shelter or food or water or heat, whatever the case may be. And you might need to learn some basic fundamental survival skills, whether it's building a fire, shelter, how to cook, how to purify water, whatever the case may be, skills and traits that might help you and your family survive in that 24 to 72 hour kind of ordeal. This is the first video of that series. It's going to call out the Bug Out Challenge. So we're out here in the Walmart parking lot here in our local Walmart, and we're going to have a little fun with this. We're bringing our buddy in, Hans. He has no idea what's going on. So we're going to tell him a scenario and what's going to happen. So the scenario is the Red Dawn scenario has happened, and they're going after anyone that they pose a threat to them. At this point, they have roadblocks everywhere, okay? So we're going to run to Walmart, get what we can, but here's a scenario. The wife and the kids, they're off at a safe haven. There is an underground safe haven a couple hours away. Okay. And they've taken all the women and children that they can get, and they're busing them to the safe haven. Okay. Leaves the men 72 hours before the buses get back. So we're not going to have our vehicles. We have to survive in the wilderness and not get caught for 72 hours. So what's going to happen is he's got 15 minutes inside Walmart, and I'm giving him $50. $50 and 15 minutes, can't go over, to get the supplies you think you need to survive for 72 hours on your own. So, like I said, he's got $50 that I'm going to pay for. In 15 minutes, you don't have to be back here. You have to meet me at the self-checkout in 15 minutes, and your time starts now. All right, so we are here at the clubhouse, and we've done the Walmart and all of that. Now, honestly, Hans is going to be probably a little bit more prepared for a scenario like this than other people. He had a lot of stuff in his vehicle that he could have utilized, but once again, you can't take the vehicle because they've got roadblocks everywhere, so he's gonna have to stage. We've all decided to come here to the range, stage our vehicles here, hide them, whatever, secure them, and then we're heading to the hills across the street to bug out and all of that. So what I did is I allowed him to, he's got a couple guns in the vehicle and bags and all that, so I allowed him to have a firearm in a bag, since he already had them with him. I'm not gonna let him take all that stuff because he's still gotta carry all this stuff with him. So a firearm in a bag. So before we get going into the Walmart contents, you chose A bag and a firearm. So let's start there and say, what have you chosen for this 72-hour adventure?
So this is just my EDC bag. I grab it every time I walk out the door. If I'm getting in the vehicle, the bag's going with me. Obviously, I have another gun on my hip if I'm just going through the neighborhood. However, that wasn't the scenario you gave me.
That is not the scenario we gave them.
So in here, I've got several extra boxes of ammo. Obviously.
Bunch of 9mm, and I'm assuming that's there for a reason.
Yeah, 9mm now.
And some 223.
Which is in the vehicle as well.
So the 223, so basically the 223 is null and void, right?
Right, if that's staying.
Okay.
Okay. So 9mm, more 9mm, flashlight.
Okay, so he's got a flashlight, hearing protection, which I don't know if he'll need out in the wilderness. He wants to be able to hear everything, but he's got, I don't know, a couple 300 rounds of 9mm so far.
We'll get into the bag.
So
later.
he's got a bag, which is nice to have, but here's the firearm of choice for this.
So the firearm is just my Glock 19, or my Glock 17, 9mm. It's in the MCK mini conversion, with just a little true glow red dot sight on it. I do have flip up sights that I can throw up if I needed to, if that battery went out or whatever. So it is my sidearm, but I can also carry it as a rifle, shoulder it and whatnot if I needed to. So that's coming out of my bag. I'll probably condense down my ammo and my magazines and make that work so that I can start putting my groceries.
So would you take the conversion or just take the 17 as a sidearm?
No, I would take the conversion.
Okay, you got a sling, so you can probably sling it?
Yeah, I can.
How many rounds would you take?
So I would probably take at least 100 rounds plus what's I have in magazines.
100 rounds, let's say another 34, so 134 and a 30, so you're gonna have 160 plus rounds available to you for 72 hours. I don't mind that at all. So as of right now, we've got firearm, light, and 160-ish rounds. So that's where he is for weaponry right now, okay? We've got the backpack that a lot of stuff's gonna come out. This will go back in that backpack, or this will be slung, I'm assuming.
It'll be slung.
And you got some room in there for the rest of the stuff.
Okay.
All right. So we've got his backpack, which is nice that he always has that in his vehicle because that's an item. Knowing we have to lug all of this stuff with us for the 72 hours, having that backpack saved him some money. Oh, by the way, he went way over the $50. Not only did we have to put something back, we also had about 10 other items left in the cart. But once again, that's what we wanted. We wanted to see what someone's gonna think that doesn't have any survival skill training, no military background, no official training in surviving. We wanted to see where your mind goes and give you guys some ideas out there of if something like this does happen and you've got to just get some bare necessities, what kind of stuff are we looking at? So he came up after putting a bunch of stuff back, obviously, at $49.10. $49.10. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna start going through the list of items. So before we start pulling the stuff out, I do wanna ask Hans, when you were given the scenario and you had 15 minutes and $50. First of all, people don't realize, even at Walmart, $50 doesn't necessarily go a long way, but you can find some really cool stuff for survival for $50. What was your initial thought? And as you were running to Walmart from the parking lot, what were your initial thoughts of what's the first things that I want to get?
So my first thought was your three mainstays is food, clothing, and shelter. Okay? So obviously I've got clothing. I'm gonna be in it for 72 hours. Whoop-de-doo. I'm fine with that. So the next is food. So we need something to live off of for 72 hours. I was thinking something that's easy to cook or don't have to cook, and will fill me up, as well as still I can keep getting several items of it or whatever, so I can have 3 days worth of food.
So I like the aspect, you know, and this is someone who's not coming from a background of survivalist or military training.
No.
The 4 areas we talk about all the time: shelter, heat, food, and water. Those are the 4 things that you're gonna have to probably have in some sort of fashion for survival. So his mind first went to food. So what are the first items that you bought for food?
Bought lunches, some Vienna sausages, pack of hot dogs, some beans, and a big tub.
All right, so the peanut butter, big old tub of peanut butter. This right here went for $4.84. $4.84 for peanut butter. Okay, so we're put that here. You've got, what is that, an 8-pack of hot dogs. 8-pack of hot dogs, and these went for $2.84. A thing of Vienna sausage. This went for 56 cents. 56 cents. Went with some country style baked beans. Once again, we're talking protein, 12 grams per serving, 1 serving per container. We're talking about protein here, guys, because protein is really going to be able to keep you going. You know, you got carbs, 58 grams. In this kind of scenario, carbs are good, protein's good. So for country style baked beans, $1.14. $1.14 right there. And then 3 packages of ramen noodles. We're talking total carbs, 36 grams, 7 grams of protein. 3 of those, and the cup of noodles cost 34 cents a piece. 34 cents a piece. So you've got the food. Where was your next thought of going after the food?
All right, so after the food was hydration.
Okay, so water.
Bottles of water.
3 big old bottles of water. These cost $1 a piece. So there's $3 right there for the water. Oh, you got 4 of them, so there's $4 worth of water. And each one of these are, what is this, a liter?
It's a liter.
Okay, so he has 4 liters of water sitting right there.
A liter a day and a liter to cook with.
There you go. Okay. So he's got water and food, or your first 2 priorities in your mind. That's where you went first. So after you went with food and water, what's the next item you went with?
My next item was shelter. I went for a tarp and actually found a package deal with the size tarp that I was kind of looking at.
Which is what? How big is that?
It's actually a 6x8.
Okay.
So I didn't want to go with like the 9x12 or anything like that. If I'm going to be in the woods trying to hide, and I'm not trying to, you know, fluff out a big old tarp and everything and get it hung up. But the nice thing about this one was it came with bungee cords.
Okay, so this right here is Ozark Trail. This was by far your most expensive item. This was $11.88, but it's a 9-piece tarp and bungee set. After shelter, you got food, water, shelter. What was the next item that you got?
So I actually grabbed a hot plate and fire starter. So I can start a fire. I've got a hot plate. I can cook whatever I can catch. So whether it's fish or squirrel or whatever I can get my hands on. As you see, I did grab some fishing hooks. We did leave the fishing line. However, with that having so many bungees in it, I can cut one of those bungees up, and inside a bungee cord is all braided line in there that stretches. So I can use that as a line to do some fishing if that's a possibility. Got my fire starter, so I can start a fire. That's going to give me heat. The ability to cook anything I need to cook. You know, obviously I went with food that I didn't really have to cook, save for the ramen noodles maybe. Just depends on how you are. Now I strategically bought my cans of food with the pop tops. Because once we open these, then I can use these as a sharp edge for cleaning my fish, cleaning my
So this is going to be your blade.
Can be.
For
but I
whatever.
keep a pocket knife on me all the time anyway.
Okay, so you do have a knife. Okay, so he has a knife. So that was good because I was going to ask you what you were going to do for a blade.
Right.
One of the things I did want to mention is I do like that he has the pop-off tops on here, just in case he does lose his knife. He's going to have access to open these cans, and like I said, being smart, you can utilize these. They are pretty damn sharp. They can cut your finger pretty easily, but you can utilize these for some sort of a blade or utilize it for a sharp object if need be. So the fishing hooks, I like the idea we were going with the bungee cord. You can utilize the inside threads of the bungee cord. The fish hooks, $3.76 for that right there, for 50 fish hooks. All right, we'll go with that. The fire starter, which is basically the magnesium, you guys have all seen the magnesium fire starter, Ozark Trail. This went for $5.87, and the griddle was $9.92. Right here, $49.10. So what I want to go through real quick is kind of talk about his ideas and where he went, not critique him, but mention some items and all of that, and maybe bring up some things that either were missed or you could have done differently. First thing is first aid. Okay, so no first aid kit.
So I guess that would go. I do keep my plate carrier in my car.
But you're not taking that with you.
Is it? It's not getting worn on me when I ruck out here.
No.
Okay.
No. So.
Yeah.
And you might be able to grab a first aid kit that's on your plate carrier. You're not going to take the plate carrier with you. Why would you take a 20-pound plate carrier in a survival thing?
Right.
Who knows? But you might be able to grab that first aid kit, throw that, throw it on the back, so you've got your first aid kit. But that's something you always want to think about as first aid kit.
Sure.
Now, when we're talking about surviving, and I'm not a survivalist. I don't want anyone to think that I'm like some expert survivalist. I've got some cold weather and outdoor training in me and all of that. I've got a background that has done some of this stuff. I'm not a big outdoor guy. I like to hike and all that, but I'm not a big camper, but I know how. And you can do it on the cheap and you can do it on the minimalist side as well. Depending on where you are, okay? Depending upon where you are. We're in north central Arkansas in the hills. So building shelter is not going to be that hard. There's plenty of trees, hills, get on top of the hill, see a good vantage point of what's coming down below. Shelter is not going to be an issue. Water around here is not going to be a big issue. There's creeks everywhere. We have a huge ass lake. So water is not going to be an issue. What I will say about water, these things are heavy as hell, okay? So what I would have thought about is if we were heading to the hills, knowing that some kind of a creek or something was going to be relatively close by, I would have thought of maybe a life straw,
I was pondering that.
or you can boil water and purify it and sanitize it. I like where you're going. Maybe one for cooking or something like that, but that's a lot of weight, especially taking up a lot of room in that small backpack for everything else. So I'm not saying he's wrong by any means, that water is a priority, but there might be some other ways and methods that could have saved room and weight. Not necessarily money, because a life straw or iodine tablets or whatever is going to cost more than the $4 it took for this. But we're talking about weight and room in a backpack. That could have saved a lot of room and weight over a 72-hour period. That's just a thought. Just a thought for people out there is there are some really good alternatives to getting bottles of water. When it comes to food, I like what you did. You've got some water here that you can put in cup of noodles. You've got this, you can just scoop it with your finger, who cares? There are no utensils at that point. You don't need utensils. If you're worried about having a spoon or a knife or a fork, then probably surviving is not the thing for you, and you might not make it anyways. Just saying. If you eat a Snicker bar with a fork and knife, Good luck to you. We'll be thinking about you. So I like the food thoughts, especially with the cans. Let me just ask you a question off the top of your head. Mm-hmm. You eat the baked beans. Mm-hmm. Can a can be used for anything after that?
Yep, I can cook with it.
Okay, you can boil the water with it.
You can boil water with it.
Absolutely.
You can cook your gizzards and your livers and your hearts and stuff out of your squirrels and whatnot. So yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. The body can live without food for 3 days pretty easily. It can live without water day and a half without before you start getting weaker and a little loopy. If you had to choose water over food, okay? Because we can eat anything out there that we can find. There's all sorts of stuff that you can eat, fish, you can eat whatever. There's things that you can eat out in the wilderness that can get you protein and carbohydrates, which is really what you need for that survival to stay alert, stay healthy, stay fit, muscles working together. Some items that I suggest, and here's where I'm going with this, and you'll understand why. Gummy bears. Okay, when we were out in the field or whatever, we always had gummy bears. Why? Good source of carbs, give you energy with the sugar. More importantly, they don't have a scent. Okay, hot dogs, that could attract some animals that might visit you during the night. Baked beans and Vienna sausages, great protein, great carbs. You're gonna have to sleep eventually. That might not be the greatest move for some people. Now, I'm not critiquing. I'm just trying to give people an idea. Gummy bears, you can put them in a little pouch and put them in your jean pocket or whatever. Snack on them. Get a can of protein shake. It sounds crazy. It's not good. You've got water. You have water, access to water. You get a big can of protein shake. That can last you. You don't even have to boil the water. Just pour it in there, and it gets some protein. More importantly, that big can is much better to cook in than a small can like this, okay? So you have that metal can that the protein shake comes in, you can utilize that can now for cooking, okay? So there's all sorts of things. These are just ideas out there. He went to the food aisle and just started doing this. I'm thinking, all right, he's gonna be a hungry boy. But no, I like the food choices you made, but if you're out there and you're serious, just really trying to bare and minimalize, gummy bears, protein shakes, something like that can get you through a 72-hour period. When you talked about the shelter and you got this tarp, what was your initial idea on how to build your shelter? Were you thinking that far down the line?
So, just from my experiences in camping and going out and playing, even when I was younger, you can take a tarp, whether you take a couple sticks and stick it up on the end and just make a little teepee out of it, or if need be, you can just wrap up in it and stay warm next to your fire. I can strap it up above trees and just create a canopy. If I find a cave, it's so versatile. One particular shelter doesn't come to mind. It's wherever I'm at and whatever's available to me.
The great thing about a tarp, this would have probably been the very first thing that I would have gotten. I don't know if I would have gotten the one with the bungee cord. I would have gotten paracord instead of bungee cord. Mm-hmm. The reason why is this: a lot of people don't realize is part of the threading of paracord is actually fishing line. Okay. So you would have had your built-in fishing line with the paracord. Right. Anyways, you can get a tarp. Let's say you get a tarp for $5. Maybe get 2 of them. The great thing about a tarp is not only can you use it for shelter, what I would probably do is when I build like a little teepee, I would build it with sticks and then put the tarp over it. That's going to waterproof the roof of that shelter. The great thing about a tarp as well, even with the bungee cord, would probably be better because it does have the hooks and all of that, the reinforced hems and the grommets in there. You can utilize this to drag all the wood that you find for your shelter and for your fires. Put it on there, boom. Since this is going to be probably the last thing that you put on top of the roof, besides leaves on top of it to maybe camouflage the tarp. You probably don't want a big blue tarp sticking out in the middle of wilderness for people to find you. You throw leaves, but this will be the last thing you put on top of the roof. So you can utilize this to drag in the wood, drag in whatever. If you go fishing, you can drag whatever you catch or whatever. A tarp is used for a lot of great things. So well done on the tarp. My question is this. You've talked about cooking some of the stuff if you need to. Obviously you need water, hot water for the cup of noodles, you've got a fire starter. A fire starter. And you've got a griddle. And you've got 2 small cans. How's the fire gonna work to boil the water and all of that? Are you gonna eat these first, I'm assuming? And then utilize those for boiling your water, or what were your thoughts on?
So my thoughts were, if I'm gonna be, going, if I'm trekking somewhere, I can eat these on the go.
Okay.
I can just pop the top, eat them on the go,
Yep.
no big deal. I can drink the juices out of them, give me a little hydration there as well. Stash those in the bag. Then once we get to setting up camp, yeah, I can start a fire, use those to boil or whatever.
Sure. So he's got the fire starter, he's got the magnesium fire starter. Some really good things. We'll have a video coming out fairly soon. Be on the lookout for that on 3 ways, besides magnesium, interesting ways to start a fire. These are great, but they're so time consuming. You've got to shave the magnesium and get the shavings, get them collected, and then hopefully get that spark. He's probably got a lighter on him, knowing that he smokes. He's gonna have a lighter, which is better than sparking with this, but you still have to have the magnesium shaving. That's gonna take some time. I'm not saying this is bad. I love these things, but there are better ways. And be on the lookout. We're gonna show you how to build a fire 3 different ways with household goods coming up. But this right here will get it going. Most importantly, he has a lighter in his pocket. The best thing you can do, I'm surprised you didn't go and buy 3 or 4 more lighters just in case you ran out of gas on those. But yeah, you can get like a 3-pack or a 6-pack of lighters for a couple bucks. But having a flame is much easier than this. So yeah, we wanted to have fun. It was a nice little, how do I put this, experiment, if you will. Yeah, he had no idea. He's been calling me the last couple of days. I'm going to say, hey, will you meet me up there? And I know he was trying to fish as to what the hell was going on. But we wanted to make sure we got there, and he was surprised because we wanted him in the mindset of freaking out, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to do this, with the freak out mode of someone's coming. And you've got limited time, limited funds, because let's say 50 bucks was all you had in your pocket. At that point, they've already closed down the credit card processing, so you had 50 bucks cash on you, and you wanted to get in and out. It was a madhouse in Wal-Mart. That's why we did it on a Sunday afternoon after church, because it was a madhouse. Right. Everyone's in there. Probably at that point, we're not going to be paying for it. Let's be real. We're just going to steal it, and we're going to survive. Let the cops come find me later. But this was an experiment to see where his head went. His head always went food and water. Everyone's going to be different. Their mind's going to go to shelter. Like me, I would have gotten a tart, some paracord. I would have gotten some gummy bears, a thing of protein shake, and either some Vaseline. I would have gotten a first aid kit, just a basic one. I would have gone with the cotton balls and first aid kit, because you can utilize that first aid kit, that Vaseline for first aid if you needed to, as an ointment or whatever. And I'm out at that point. I would have gotten a life straw. It cost about 15 bucks. That way you don't have to worry about purifying water. But I could also boil water from a creek or a stream with that metal can of powder. Dump that powder in one of these Walmart bags or whatever, and we're good to go. So he's got his weapons, he's got his backpack, he's got all this stuff. The question is all this shit gonna fit in that backpack?
Yep.
All right. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. It was fun. Like I said, I think he had fun. It was a little nerve-wracking, but we wanted to do this to kind of see where people's heads are gonna go when this happens. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to challenge. I want everyone out there to do one of 2 things. I want everyone to watch this, go to the comments below, and put your essential items that you would take. That's going to be roughly a ballpark $50, roughly what you would take for that 72 hours surviving on your own, out in the hills or wherever you are. Comment what you would take. Those that are going to get real fun with this, I challenge you to do it. Go to Walmart with $50 and get what you can get, and do a video and hashtag bug out challenge, And we're going to go out there and see what people are doing out there, because the more people that can maybe start thinking about this, the better. We're not trying to be survivalists. We're not trying to be experts. We're trying to get the basic tools, the basic necessities, and some basic skill sets that can help you or your family to survive when crisis hits. Take your family out to the backyard or even to the garage if you don't want to go outside. Teach everyone how to build a tent. Teach everyone how to build a fire. Tell everyone how to purify and boil water. The simple necessities that no matter who's out there, they have the basic skills to survive out there. So guys, thank you so much for watching. We're hoping you're enjoying the series, and we'll see you soon. Semper Fi.